Good morning, children. Today we will be starting to write our very own story. I am going to be writing about the bird who was afraid to fly. My poor old bird, Robbie the robin, is too scared to venture out of his nest and fly. But the people he meets along the story are going to be persuading him that flying is great. So earlier on in the week, the focus was punctuation. We're going to keep that in the front of our minds, making sure we are trying to use accurate punctuation. We're also going to take a look at using adverbs in your writing to add more detail to our description. So, what is an adverb? Have a little think to yourself to see if you can remember. We're going to watch a little video that helps us to remind us about adverbs and give us some examples. And if you go to the BBC website on the link below, which is in the planning, you can play a short quiz and do an adverb activity.
The adverb train station. If you want to find out about adverbs, there is no better place. An adverb tells you how something happens. Here is a train moving quickly on the track. Quickly is an adverb here, as it describes how fast the train is moving. And look, here is another train. This one is moving very slowly on the track. Slowly is an adverb here, as it describes how fast the train is moving. Oh, here is a group of passengers waiting patiently for their train. Patiently is the word describing the verb waiting. Oh dear, here is the gorilla monster. He wants to play with the train. Oh, you are playing nicely with the train, aren't you? Nicely is the adverb here, as it describes how the gorilla monster is playing with the train. Playing is the verb because that is what the gorilla monster is doing. An adverb describes the nature of a verb. The gorilla monster expertly launched the train into space.
So, an adverb is a word that describes how an action is carried out. So, let's have a look at these examples. Pause the video a minute and have a think about which are the adverbs in these sentences. So, let's have a read through them. Tom painted his picture beautifully. The adverb is beautifully, describing how he painted his picture. Quickly, Annie brushed her hair. Quickly is the adverb here. It's telling us how she brushed her hair. Amy read her books silently in the library. Nia swam bravely without armbands. Ben rode his bike to school happily, and carefully Jack climbed down the ladder. So as you can see, they can go at the beginning of a sentence, in the middle, or at the end, but they add that little bit of extra detail as to how something was done. So you need to remind yourself of your plan from yesterday. Read it to yourself, read it to someone in your house, read it to your cat. Just make sure you know exactly what is happening in your story. You need to remind yourself about your character and all the other characters that your main character meets and how they try and persuade them to change their mind. So here is everything we need to have to help us with our writing today. And we can be ticking off our plan to help us to remember to include everything. And also there's a word mat, an adverb word mat to help us to remember to use adverbs. So you could tick those off once you've used them. And also our phase 5 sound mat to help us with our spelling. So I'm going to read my story, The Bird Who Was Afraid to Fly. And while I'm reading, I want you to have a think about whether I've remembered all my punctuation and whether I've managed to put my adverbs in. The bird who was afraid to fly. There once lived a baby robin called Robbie. Robbie was the same as every other baby robin, apart from one thing. He was afraid of flying. He had never left the tall green tree from where he hatched. He was just too scared, but his mummy thought it was about time he learnt a bit about flying. So that is my first box on my plan. I've introduced my character and I've said what his fear is. Okay. Suddenly, Robbie heard a meow echoing from above. Meow, it went again. Robbie looked up and saw the most incredible sight. It was a red aeroplane performing stunts in the sky. Robbie watched amazed. It landed in the field below and Robbie hopped carefully down. The pilot couldn't believe Robbie was afraid to fly. So if I read back through that, I think there might be a couple of pieces of punctuation I'm missing. But I have managed to get an adverb in here. Carefully. He hopped carefully down. So you're right. I'm missing my capital I at the beginning of my next sentence here. I've got a full stop, but I've forgotten my capital letter. And I think I want to add in another adverb because reading back through it, I think if I added in, there was a red aeroplane performing stunts gracefully in the sky. I think that will be a good improvement. But also I'm missing one more capital letter for my Robbie at the beginning of his name. Let's carry on. Flying is exciting. I have to use a plane, but you can loop the loop and zoom quickly through the sky on your own. I wish I was a bird. Robbie hopped back up to his nest to tell his mummy. The stunt pilot says flying is exciting, but I still do not like it. I'll highlight that adverb that I've managed to get in there. Early next morning, Robbie opened his eyes to see the most beautiful butterfly perched on his branch. Then he watched it as it took off and darted in and out of the woodland flowers below, before returning to the branch. The butterfly was shocked to hear Robbie was afraid to fly. So again, I think I've forgotten one of my capital letters, so let's put that in. Then, after my full stop there. And I think I'm going to add in another adverb here because reading back through it, I think if I added elegantly, he watched it as it elegantly took off. I think that will be a good improvement. And again, I've forgotten capital R for Robbie. So I put that in there. Flying is beautiful. Look how colourful we both are. It makes people happy to see us fluttering around, the butterfly said before we flew off into the distance. Robbie turned to his mummy and said, the butterfly looks beautiful flying, but I still do not like it at all. Okay, so I think I'm going to edit it and just add in one more adverb, just to add that little bit of extra detail. I'm going to see here, fluttering around, fluttering gently around. Makes people happy to see us fluttering gently around. So today and tomorrow, you're going to be writing your own stories in the style of the owl who is afraid of the dark. Remember to use the word mat and keep checking your plan from yesterday. And remember to keep reading back through your writing, checking and editing. Have fun writing your stories, everyone.